Coming up next on Scripps News Live, a former Marine now indicted for manslaughter. We'll have the latest on that case more than a month after Jordan Neely's death on the New York subway. Plus, it's now been 3 years since Paul Whelan was sentenced to spend more than a decade in a Russian prison. An update on the efforts to free him and other Americans jailed overseas.
The user's mailbox is not available at this time.
That line should be working. There's no excuse for that. There's none.
And leadership in Flint, Michigan facing new criticism. Our Scripps News investigative team is back in the city to find out if leaders are making good on their promise of getting clean water for residents. Scripps News Live begins right now. Welcome to Scripps News Live. Thank you so much for being with us on this Thursday. I'm Veronica Cruz. Developing now, the former Marine arrested after the death of a man on a New York City subway has now been indicted. A Manhattan grand jury voting to indict Daniel Penny on second-degree manslaughter charges. Penny held Jordan Neely down on the floor of the subway after Neely allegedly started shouting at passengers that he was hungry and he didn't care if he died. Neely had been dealing with homelessness and mental illness over the past few years. Justice correspondent Jamal Andres tracking the story for us. And Jamal, we know at this point that the indictment remains sealed, but what can you tell us about what comes next in this case?
Yeah, Veronica. Well, hopefully we get a chance to hear from Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who's the one who brought these charges, and more importantly, get a chance to look at that sealed indictment that you mentioned. One of the things that we heard from one of the people we heard from most recently is New York Mayor Eric Adams, and he had this to say about these charges. Quote, "I have the utmost faith in the judicial process, and now that the grand jury has indicted Daniel Penny, a trial and justice can move forward." In New York, a grand jury must approve these charges before a criminal case can begin and get to that trial phase. But then there's that old saying that goes something like, a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, essentially making the point that this process heavily favors the prosecution and says it doesn't say much about the person on trial's guilt or innocence. You know, the defense doesn't get a chance to present its side of the case. The prosecutor can bring whoever they want to speak and testify at that hearing. And so, again, it's more of a rubber stamp than a statement on Penny's guilt or innocence. But as you mentioned, this incident took place back on May 1st, and the outrage and rhetoric around it has carried on since then. You know, hundreds protested in New York over Jordan Neely's death, calling for there to be criminal charges here. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered a eulogy at Jordan Neely's funeral at a packed New York City church. And on the other side, we have seen presidential hopefuls for the Republican primary in 2024 speaking out on this issue. We heard from Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, several others who spoke out on behalf of Daniel Penny. And a donation page was tweeted out by Ron DeSantis and has now raised somewhere around $2.8 million so far. Just this week, though, Penny spoke out on his own behalf in a fairly lengthy video explaining what happened here and sort of debunking what he feels are unfair characterizations of what happened. Listen to what he had to say.
The reason why there was no video at the start of the altercation was because people were too afraid getting away from him. And the videos didn't start until they saw that situation was under control. I knew I had to act, and I acted in a way that would protect the other passengers, protect myself, and protect Mr. Neely. I used this hole to restrain him, and I did this by leaving my hand on top of his head to control his body. You could see in the video there's a clear rise and fall of his chest, indicating that he was still breathing.
He went on to say that period of time that he actually held Neely in that chokehold has been reported as longer than it was, saying it was somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes rather than the 15 minutes that some reported early on. And he also addressed the racial dynamics of this case. Obviously, he is white, and Jordan Neely was black, essentially saying that he did not see race in this situation and that all he saw was a man threatening other passengers rather than a black man threatening passengers. Veronica.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how this one all plays out. Jamal Andres live for us there in Dallas. Jamal, thank you. We want to get you now to the race for the White House as another Republican is tossing his hat into the ring. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez filing the paperwork yesterday for his 2024 campaign. He officially launched his bid this morning with this campaign ad.
My dad taught me that you get to choose your battles, and I am choosing the biggest one of my life. I'm going to run for president. I'm going to run for your children and mine. Let's give them the future they deserve. It's time to take things into our own hands. It's time to get things started.
Suarez is expected to make a speech tonight at the Reagan Library in California. The mayor's supporters also filed paperwork for his super PAC this week with ad buys scheduled in 3 key primary states: Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. Now, in the meantime, the man largely considered to be former President Trump's toughest competition for the Republican nomination is making moves of his own, with his opponent now facing 2 criminal indictments, 1 state and 1 federal. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis calling himself the law and order candidate while taking aim at Trump's 2018 criminal justice reform bill. Scripps News national political correspondent Kevin Cirilli explains.
When former President Trump arrived at the federal courthouse in Miami on Tuesday, Ron DeSantis' super PAC trolled him on Twitter. Steve Cortez, a former Trump political advisor turned DeSantis supporter, on Tuesday tweeted, quote, "It's time for a law and order candidate," attacking Trump for his bipartisan criminal justice reform bill. Trump's bipartisan 2018 criminal justice reform bill was praised at the time by Republicans and Democrats alike, and even Kim Kardashian. Now the legislation has come under attack from conservatives who argue it contributed to escalating crime nationwide. The 2018 First Step Act looked to address racial inequality in the criminal justice system and was backed inside the Trump White House by former President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. DeSantis says he would repeal it as president. In an interview with conservative commentator Ben Shapiro, DeSantis dubbed it, quote, "the jailbreak bill," end quote, and vowed to repeal it.
Under the Trump administration, he enacted a bill, basically a jailbreak bill. It's called the First Step Act.
A spokesperson for Trump's super PAC accused DeSantis of flip-flopping on the issue. In a statement to Scripps News, Trump's super PAC spokeswoman Caroline Levitt said, quote, "Ron DeSantis ran his campaign on Donald Trump's America First agenda." She went on to say that he is now attacking Trump on those very same issues, proving that he is just another flip-flopping politician who will say whatever it takes to win. DeSantis did call Trump a, quote, law and order candidate while campaigning for him in the last election.
We are a law and order state, and we need a law and order POTUS. We need the president reelected.
In an interview Wednesday with Scripps News, DeSantis super PAC founder Ken Cuccinelli said it's Trump who's flip-flopping, not DeSantis.
I think it's viewed as a flip-flop for Trump. Certainly during the campaign, the president certainly talked that way.
Trump continues to surge amongst voters after news of the indictment. A CBS News YouGov poll released after the indictment has Trump clearing the Republican field with 61% support amongst Republican voters. DeSantis is in second at 23%. The others in single digits.
Kevin Cirilli reporting there for us. Kevin, thanks. Right now, President Biden is calling on businesses to provide clear upfront pricing to customers. His administration wants more clarity around hidden junk fees that are inflating the prices of purchases like concert tickets and vacation rentals. Companies like Live Nation, which owns Ticketmaster and Airbnb, are answering that call. White House correspondent Haley Bull joining me now live from Washington. So, Haley, tell us more about what the president has been thinking about in terms of ending these so-called junk fees. What actions are we expecting to come out of this meeting?
Well, Veronica, we're expecting a number of updates as the White House hones in on those surprise fees that pop up when you get to the end of your transaction when it comes to things like buying concerts or booking travel. And this is really the latest effort from President Biden as he prioritizes cutting down junk fees. Now, this afternoon, he convened leaders from travel and ticketing companies, including Live Nation, Airbnb, and SeatGeek. And the White House says Live Nation is committing to show one total price up front, that Ticketmaster will provide an option to see upfront pricing, and SeatGeek will roll out features to make it a little easier to see that when you're shopping. Now, during his remarks, President Biden called on competitors to follow that lead, but also noted there's more work to be done in the ticketing industry. Listen.
This is a win for consumers, in my view, and proof that our crackdown on junk fees has real momentum. But there's more to do to address the problem of online ticketing, to address the problems in online ticketing industry.
Now, this builds on a number of actions from the White House following President Biden calling out junk fees in his State of the Union address earlier this year. And the administration previously called for example, reduced fees for families seating on airlines, more supervision over bank junk fees, which they're referring to things like overdraft fees or bounced check fees. They proposed a rule to cut down on credit card late fees. They proposed a rule that airlines show the costs up front, and they announced plans to propose a rule that would require airlines to reimburse some of the costs when the travel disruptions are their fault, Veronica.
Haley, you and I both know that Americans often vote with their pocketbook, and the race for the White House is right around the corner now. How does this all play into the larger economic picture?
Well, we know the economy is a top issue for voters, and that's across the aisle. The administration views junk fees as a bipartisan issue. Big picture, this falls into the president's larger economic plan. You hear them say constantly, they frame that as building the economy from the, quote, bottom up, middle out. Now, during his remarks, Biden said these actions will play into that, and he believes lead to more competition. Now, in this bigger economic plan, he's focused on lowering some of the everyday costs for people. So you're seeing things like junk fees, you're seeing things like medicine, so the things that people feel in their pocketbooks every day. The National Economic Council director stated, I'm going to read part of this for you here, quote, President Biden has been working to lower costs for hardworking families by bringing down inflation, capping insulin prices for seniors, and eliminating hidden junk fees. More companies are heeding the president's calls so that Americans know what they're paying for up front and can save money as a result. Now, there's certainly been some pushback over, for example, those bank fees when it comes to some financial trade groups and a couple lawmakers, but polling does show from earlier in this year that there is bipartisan support among respondents when it comes to cutting down and addressing junk fees. And notably, the president is also still calling on Congress to take more action on this issue, Veronica.
All right, Haley Blue reporting live for us from the White House. Haley, we appreciate it. Thank you. Still to come on Scripps News Live, spring is wrapping up and summer is right around the corner. The safety tips that you need to know if your plans have you splashing around the pool this season. Plus, the Biden administration still working to free Paul Whelan from a Russian prison. What we know right now about those talks with Russia and the reaction from the Whelan family.
Outlawing weight discrimination.
Having it done in New York, it's a signal to the rest of the world that the time is now.
How a new law could change outdated size restrictions. Tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News Tonight.
Are you ready for a fresh new bath or shower? Well, now is the best time with 50% off installation and no interest and no payments for 1 year. Hi, I'm Christina, and it's time to flip your old worn out bath or shower with Jacuzzi Bath Remodel today. Everyone knows the Jacuzzi brand. They're the most trusted name in water for over 60 years. But did you know they can install a gorgeous bath or shower that feels incredible in as little as 1 day? It's no stress and no mess with a lifetime warranty. Now let's talk beauty. You deserve to start and end your day in a beautiful space that feels great and is custom designed just for you. So call or go online now to see the Christina preferred designs like Canyon, Farm, and Urban. Now that's the total bathroom beauty that I love at a price you can afford. And how about safety? Like an ultra low profile, easy entry shower complete with grab bars and a custom design seat. You deserve safety and peace of mind without sacrificing style. Because with all the worries in daily life, taking a shower shouldn't be one of them.
Every time I stepped over my old tub, I worried I might fall. I don't have those fears anymore. Jacuzzi bath remodel gave me a gorgeous shower that's safe too.
I've been trying to get him to remodel that bath for years. I called and they did in just one day.
And at a price we could afford.
With one call to Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, you can effortlessly transform that old, ugly eyesore into the stunning bath or shower of your dreams that you'll love for years to come.
Call or go online now to jacuzzibathremodel.com to get 50% off installation. Plus, ask how you may qualify for no interest and no payments for 12 months. And when you call right now, we'll give you our complete safety upgrade for free. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-218-1279. That's 800-218-1279. Call now.
Surprise Dad this Father's Day with something new. Fracture turns your images into more than a picture. Your photos are custom printed directly on glass to achieve brilliant color and clarity. Visit tryfracture.com and save up to 30% off.
We need some help.
I know. I'm going to cashnetusa.com. And if approved, we can have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
Go to cashnetusa.com to apply for the money you need.
Sunday nights on In Real Life.
For the baby?
Yeah.
Scripps News journalists take you off the grid.
We were just a bunch of kids with a camera.
Stunts have become more specialized.
And to the heart of the story.
When the pandemic hit, the American dream kind of changed.
There were a lot of warning signs. They just didn't care.
In Real Life, Sunday at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Michigan businessman Paul Whelan has been detained in Russia now for more than 4 years. Today marks the 3rd year since he was sentenced to 16 years in prison on spying charges, something both he and the U.S. government deny. His case has gotten more attention since the release of WNBA star Brittany Griner in December and the recent detention of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. Scripps News national correspondent Vanessa Mashanya joins us now live from Seattle. Vanessa, what more can you tell us about the latest developments in Paul Whelan's case?
Yeah, with American journalists also in detention, Evan Gershkovich, the Whelan family remains, as they have been for years, cautiously optimistic that a release may be in the cards.
It has been 3 years since Paul Whelan's sentencing on espionage charges in a Russian court. Now, this week, a move towards action from Congress. In a 422-0 unanimous vote, the House of Representatives passed a resolution calling on Russia to release Whelan and Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich in hopes of spurring movement to return them home to the U.S.
Felt like it was literally the 5 of us trying to get the Russian government to do the right thing and trying to get the U.S. government to do the right thing.
Since his arrest in a Russian hotel in 2018, Whelan's family has advocated for his release and suffered heartache as they watched him get passed up in recent prisoner swaps, including the high-profile deal made to bring WNBA star Brittany Griner home in December, swapping her for notorious Russian arms dealer Victor Bout. In a phone call then to CNN, Whelan expressed similar emotions to his families.
I was arrested for a crime that never occurred. I'm happy that Brittany is going home today and that Trevor went home when he did. But I don't understand why I'm still sitting here. I have to say I'm greatly disappointed that more has not been done to secure my release.
The Biden administration says the Kremlin has remained staunchly opposed to releasing Whelan from Russian custody.
This was not a choice of which American to bring home. We brought home Trevor Reed when we had a chance early this year. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittany's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up.
Whelan's family talked to him often and said last year that conditions in his prison camp were getting worse. Prisoners were being fed less, and Whelan lost 20% of his body weight. As talks continue to broker a deal, it remains unclear which high-value Russian prisoner would be able to convince the Kremlin to release both Gershkovich and Whelan to American custody.
It's not really clear anymore what Paul is worth to the Russian government, what value of concession the U.S. government has to come up with in order for him to be freed.
So back in May, the White House announced that Russia extended Evan Gershkovich's pretrial detention for another 3 months. And the Biden administration says Russia should release both Gershkovich and Whelan immediately and continues to be clear on that point. Veronica.
All right, Vanessa Michon reporting live for us. Vanessa, thank you so much for your report. Paul Whelan's brother, David Whelan, joins me now live. David, thank you so much for stopping by and for speaking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
David, I can only imagine how difficult this time has been for you and your family. I want to go ahead and begin right here by asking how you're doing and how your family has been doing.
I think it's ups and downs, really. It's a roller coaster. And for Paul, I'm sure, as well as for us, we have a high point like yesterday when the House of Representatives votes unanimously to pass a resolution calling for his freedom. But then a couple of weeks ago, it was the low where the deputy warden and a member of the prison security staff went in and threw all Paul's possessions around and stole some of the things that he has accumulated over the 3 years that he's been at that prison camp. So, I mean, it's difficult in that sense. You never really know day to day what's going to happen.
David, how do you feel about what's happening in Washington right now? This is the third time that the House has taken up a resolution calling for the immediate release of your brother and Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. David, are you confident that this time Paul will come home?
No, not at all. I think that the resolution is important because it shows, and especially with the consistency, it being the third Congress that has looked at this resolution and voted on it, that the U.S. government is not going to back down. And I think that sort of unwavering support is really important. The Kremlin is all about acting like a thug, and I think you have to stand up to thugs. However, I don't think that it actually will lead to Paul's release directly, and I'm not sure that we are going to see Paul's release anytime in the near future.
Again, I'm just going to say, I know that this has all been hard for you, and I wanted to ask you what was going through your mind. I mean, how did it make you and your family feel when you heard that it was going to be Brittany Griner, that she was going to be released? Were you hopeful in that moment that Paul would be released as well?
The White House gave us advance notice that Paul was not going to be coming home, so we didn't have any anticipation that he would be freed at the same time. I think one of the challenges when you're going through this sort of situation, Paul's been in that situation. He's been a hostage of Russia for 4.5 years now. And I think you fight to try not to become the person you could be, which is to be angry about other people being released, or to be, hoping that the U.S. government does the same thing that the Russian government does, which is to treat people with a complete lack of dignity as if they are just pawns in a game. I think we are hopeful that we will retain and that Paul will retain his humanity through all of this, and be pleased when people like Brittany Griner and Trevor Reed come home, even if that doesn't necessarily mean that Paul gets that same benefit. I think we have to look at the bright sides that come out of a terrible situation.
David, what more do you think needs to be done at this point? I mean, Paul has been held in a Russian prison for more than 1,600 days. What more would you like to see the United States do at this point to secure his release?
We've seen an evolution, I think, in how the State Department responds to these sorts of cases over the years. Certainly, they were not prepared at all when Paul was arrested back in 2018. And I think that we have seen them slowly start to adapt to this issue, which is not a Russian issue. Americans are being held hostage by Iran, by China. They've been held hostage by Venezuela. It's happening in multiple countries. And I think that they need to figure out how they're going to handle this so that rather than having Americans languish for years and years and years, as they have in Paul's case, in the case of Mark Swiden and Kylie in China, and Siamak Namazi and Imad Shargi in Iran, that they are able to do something more quickly. And that may mean coming up with solutions on what those concessions are going to be. And I'm not sure that's just a matter of doing prisoner exchanges. I think there need to be other tools in the tool chest.
And have you been able to speak with Paul recently? And if so, how is he doing? And is there anything that you'd like to say to him if he were listening to this interview right now?
Well, I would tell him to stay strong, but I think he knows that already. He's able to speak to our parents usually a couple of times a week. Right now, the prison staff are interfering with his ability to make calls. They're allowing them some days and denying them others. I haven't spoken to Paul since October 2018, so the only time I hear his voice anymore is when someone plays a statement like that you just played, so it's nice to hear his voice again. Yeah, I would just say stay strong. We'll keep working, and focus on surviving until we can get you out.
Oh, David, my heart goes out to you and to your family. We are hoping for some good news for all of you. We appreciate you stopping by and talking a little bit about your brother today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Veronica. I appreciate it.
All right. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, we're going to tell you all about what's happening in Flint. The Flint water crisis still unresolved nearly a decade later. What residents are dealing with right now and the legal action against the city and its mayor. Plus, an American man now in custody accused of attacking 2 tourists in Germany. What we know right now about that investigation. We'll be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average, and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $299 a pair. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology, many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not 1, but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $299. Plus, we'll add in a portable charging dock and ship your order absolutely free. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $299. So call now.
800-781-1799. Again, that's 800-781-1799.
There's a lot to watch on TV these days. Problem is, most streaming options are incredibly pricey, and you'll end up paying for the local channels you can get for free. Luckily, there's a solution. Sling is only $40 a month, and you get awesome stuff like sports, news, and today's hottest TV for half of what the other guys cost. If you already get free locals with an antenna, now you can easily add the channels you're missing with Sling. It's the TV you love for a price you'll love. Visit sling.com/antenna to learn more.
Sure, you should teach him to ride a bike. Then use Greenlight and teach him how to invest in bikes. Teach him to be smart about money and he'll go far.
Super far! Oh, hey, Mom!
Navigate the world of money together. Invest in your best investment. Greenlight.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
Hey there, welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. It's now half past the hour. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on this Thursday. Here are some of the other stories that we're keeping an eye on for you right now. The Supreme Court rejecting a challenge to the 1978 Indian Child Welfare Act. That law giving preference to Native American families who want to foster or adopt Native American children. It was put into place over concerns about a high number of Native children being displaced from their homes by public welfare and private adoption agencies. A white couple from Texas tried to challenge the law, arguing it violated the Constitution because it's based on race. Different parts of the country are reeling right now from 2 separate weather-related issues. While the upper Midwest is shrouded in wildfire, sections of the South are being pounded with severe storms. Minnesota is one of the Midwestern states that's blanketed in smoke from the Canadian wildfires. The southern and central part of the state are under an air quality alert until Friday morning. And ahead of his release from the hospital in Rome tomorrow, Pope Francis making a stop at the Children's Cancer Ward where he spoke with kids, their parents, and doctors. The Pope has been in the hospital now for over a week, recovering from a hernia. He stayed in the same hospital earlier this year after coming down with bronchitis. Well, developing in southern Germany right now, an American man arrested after he allegedly assaulted two American tourists. It happened along a hiking trail near a castle in Bavaria yesterday. That attack leaving a 21-year-old woman dead. The 22-year-old woman she was with was hospitalized. International correspondent Trent Murray joins us now live from Berlin. Trent, what exactly happened here?
Well, Veronica, what should have been a day trip to remember for these two young vacationers has turned into an absolute day of terror. These two women visiting southern Germany, seeing one of Europe's most famous castles. They were out there hiking when they've bumped into this 30-year-old American man, according to police. Now, he has said that he would take them to see a better vantage point of the castle. It's allegedly a slightly more secluded hiking trail, and it is there, according to police, that he began to attack one of them, the 21-year-old. Now, they say that the 22-year-old friend then tried to intervene, and that's when things got quite violent. He pushed both of them over the edge of a cliff into a canyon. They both fell 160 feet down into that ravine. As you might imagine, specialist rescue crews then having to get involved and to try and winch them to safety. Sadly, the 21-year-old American died because of her injuries. The 22-year-old one, we understand, is in a stable condition. Police quickly pouncing on the scene, taking into custody a 30-year-old man. Cell phone footage shows him being led away from that famous tourist site. He was brought before a judge in the past couple of hours where he was charged by prosecutors with a string of offences, including murder, attempted murder and sexual assault. He was not given bail. He's being held now by authorities in Munich. And we also understand, Veronica, that the American embassy here in Berlin is now providing consular support to that 22-year-old survivor, as well as making some quite tragic phone calls, one's imagined, to the family of the 21-year-old back stateside.
Yeah, this whole incident is just so tragic. Trent, what more can you tell us about a motive in this case? Is there any more information on maybe who the suspect is and why he did this?
We're being given very little information in terms of motive, other than the fact that they were not known to each other. So allegedly, this 30-year-old was a vacationer as well, where he has just had a chance encounter with these two young women who were hiking there. From what we understand to police, he has struck up a conversation and, as I said, promised to show them a better vantage point of the castle before this terrible incident has taken place. We don't really have any detail other than that. He is going to be held in custody right now. He was not given bail. He'll be given a court hearing in coming days to hear those charges in more detail.
All right, international correspondent Trent Murray reporting. Trent, thank you so much. We appreciate it. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is in Brussels right now talking up America's commitment to Ukraine. Austin met today with defense ministers from nearly 50 countries that have provided military assistance to Ukraine, and he made it clear the cooperation of Western nations is necessary to defeat Russian forces.
So we will continue to provide Ukraine with the urgent capabilities that it needs to meet this moment, as well as what it needs to keep itself secure for the long term from Russian aggression. And make no mistake, we will stand with Ukraine for the long haul.
Secretary Austin singling out the Netherlands and Denmark for taking charge of a program to train Ukrainian pilots on F-16s. He also thanked Germany and Poland for helping with Leopard tanks. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg says all of those efforts together will help support Ukraine's ongoing counter-offensive.
The Ukrainians are making gains, and that Ukraine is able to liberate occupied land. This is due to the courage, the bravery, the skills of the Ukrainian soldiers, but it also highlights and demonstrates that the support NATO allies have been giving to Ukraine now for many, many months actually makes a difference on the battlefield.
Stoltenberg later appeared with Defense Secretary Austin as part of the NATO defense ministers' meeting, and it comes days after Stoltenberg's meeting with President Biden, where the two reaffirmed their commitment to Ukraine. I want to get you now to an investigation we first brought you last month about the Flint water crisis. It still hasn't been resolved after 9 long years. Potential health hazards in the city's drinking water have now prompted residents, the ACLU, and the Natural Resources Defense Council to ask a federal judge to hold the city and its mayor in contempt of court. Scripps News senior national investigative correspondent Mark Greenblatt has more.
The ACLU and the Natural Resources Defense Council are now citing our Scripps News investigation from this May as evidence as they ask a federal judge to install sanctions against the city of Flint and its mayor after they've missed deadline after deadline after court deadline.
Deadlines were set and deadlines were missed. I admit to that, right? Some could be contributed to me and some could be contributed to other pieces, right?
Those words by Flint Mayor Sheldon Neely were aired in a Scripps News investigation in May, and some of them are now being cited in court documents asking a federal judge to find the city and its mayor in contempt of court after they say the city missed yet another deadline. The court motion also asks the judge to issue a daily fine of $500 paid jointly by the city and its mayor in his official capacity until Flint complies with its court-ordered deadlines to identify the full scope of its remaining work to replace lead drinking water pipes across the city. Scripps News reported this past May how nearly a decade after the Flint water crisis began, thousands of residents may still need their drinking water pipes inspected for toxic lead and other health hazards.
So what's the number overall that needs to still be completed?
Well, those numbers are elusive to say. I don't want to be nailed down to actually giving a particular number.
In an April interview with Scripps News, Flint Mayor Sheldon Neely, who took over the city 3.5 years ago, repeatedly declined to share how many homes still need to be inspected for potentially toxic water pipes.
You want me to give you a number?
1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000.
I give you percentages. More than 90% of this process has been completed.
More than 90% complete is also exactly where the city said it stood in this press release that we found from August of 2020, nearly 3 years ago. Our own Scripps News analysis showed the work on Flint's pipes in recent years has slowed to a crawl.
Now that we're getting down to the last few lines, they're very difficult to find those lines because we're so close to the finishing point.
But we told Neely about 7 different Flint residents who we discovered had repeatedly contacted the city, but are still waiting to get contractors out to their homes after all these years, including Adia McCullough. She told us that her 7-year-old son, Robbie, has had to drink bottled water his entire life while they wait for the city to dig underground and inspect their water lines.
They came and spray painted the pipeline, and they put little flags, and then they left and they never did the work. It feels like you don't matter. It feels like the world just keeps going on, and you keep going on. But like, everyone here is not important enough.
This woman's name is Adia.
After we told the mayor about Adia and gave the city her address and phone number in late April, he pledged to do something about it.
Now I know her name. Now that you're bringing it to me, I will send a team out.
We asked the mayor how long residents like Adia should have to wait for a team to assess their homes.
Going forward from today, how long should they have to wait before someone from the city either shows up at their house or actually starts excavation?
But once that call comes in and then we catalog that call, I would assume no more than 2 weeks before they can see some level of action. And thank you on behalf of Adina that you brought to our attention. And definitely we will be reaching out to her.
But more than a month later, we went back to Flint and visited Adia on her front porch.
No action still.
Has the city called you to set up an appointment?
No.
You've seen no action?
None.
And as Flint residents like Adia remain in limbo, we found another issue. On our visit this past April, the main phone line the city tells residents to use to call to get the lead out was not working.
The user's mailbox is not available at this time. Thank you. Goodbye.
When we told the city, a spokesperson promised a permanent fix. But a month later, when we sat with Tanya Burns, the Flint City Council member who represents Adia McCullough's neighborhood, we watched what happened when she tried to call.
The user's mailbox is not available at this time.
This is the one line. If no other line works at City Hall, that line should be working. There's no excuse for that. There's none.
Councilmember Burns told us she's become skeptical of the mayor's ability to get the job done and worries his leadership is alienating key members of the Flint city government, including the Department of Public Works, or DPW, which oversees the water system.
There's a lot of water pipes that need to get looked at in this city. Does the city have someone in charge of the Department of Public Works?
We currently do not have a DPW director.
What happened to him?
He quit. He left March 17th.
Mayor Neely has yet to fill that position. The mayor initially offered a follow-up interview with Scripps News, but after we raised what we'd learned since our last visit, a spokesperson emailed a statement instead, writing, "The city is trying to hire a new public works director and is inquiring as to why the phone line is not working consistently." The city also committed to finishing all of its remaining work by the latest court-ordered deadline of August 1st. Meanwhile, residents like Adia McCullough continue to use bottled water each day as her skepticism about more promises coming from the city grows.
Honestly, I don't even have words for it anymore. Someone that's comfortable with letting people live like this, they're not going to hear someone like me anyway. Their lives are okay, they're succeeding, they're safe. What about everybody else?
Now, the city responded in court to that attempt to hold the city and the mayor in contempt of court, saying that this request is wholly without merit, and they said that it never should have singled out the mayor, Sheldon Neely. Also, we went back to Sheldon Neely again to tell him about Adia McCullough's case, and I can tell you that as of right now, in a major twist, Ms. McCullough is telling us that this week she's finally seen a contractor show up on her door ready to inspect her drinking water pipes. Mark Greenblatt, Scripps News in Washington.
Coming up next on Scripps News Live, the number of unintentional drowning deaths have risen in recent years. So what can you do to keep your children safe in the water?
The light pinks, the light blues, and the whites almost completely disappear.
Why experts say something as simple as the color of their swimsuit could save their life. And we'd like to hear from you. You can give us a call on our Scripps News viewer hotline toll free. That number is on your screen. It's 1-833-4SCRIPPS. Again, that's 1-833-472-7477. Share your comments and your story ideas. We'll be right back.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Call 800-719-8907.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call 800-719-8907. That's 800-719-8907.
There's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. And checking your credit score or bank statements may not be enough to alert you. That's because identity threats appear in more places than you realize. Identity thieves can use your information to open loans, transfer home titles, even commit crimes.
Someone stole my information and tried to buy a car in my name.
LifeLock monitors for threats to your identity, including ones you may miss, and alerts you if there's an issue. And if you're a victim, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All plans backed by LifeLock's $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds.
I know LifeLock has me covered.
LifeLock, identity theft protection starts here. Call the number on your screen or visit lifelock.com/25 now and use promo code 25NOW to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Hey folks, the league is in absolute chaos. Come down to some rookie taking free throw. The Athletic. Subscribe today.
We really don't want people to think of feeding food like ours as spoiling their dogs.
Good, real food is simple. It looks like food, it smells like food. It's what dogs are supposed to be eating.
No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal of their life.
It's amazing to me how many people write in about their dogs changing for the better. The farmer's dog is just our way to help people take care of them.
Local, national, and worldwide headlines, breaking down the day's biggest stories with live reporting from around the globe.
I'm Del Walters, and this is The Debrief.
Live tonight, starting at 6/5 Central, only on Scripps News.
A nationwide lifeguard shortage is forcing some pools to close or cut their hours. This is the third summer in a row communities across the country are struggling to hire enough lifeguards. The American Lifeguard Association estimates more than 300,000 public pools are affected by the shortage, and it poses a higher risk for drownings and pool injuries. And believe it or not, families can help reduce those risks by making smarter choices about the swimsuits that they wear. Scripps News correspondent Dan Grossman explains why something as simple as pool attire can help save lives.
For many of us, the summer months are now here. That means boating, lakes, beaches, pools, childhood swim safety, a big focus for a lot of parents and families this year. We're at Akron Children's Hospital in Ohio. We're gonna go inside and they're gonna show us why something as simple as your child's swimsuit color can make a world of difference for their safety. Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time and helping us organize this. Hi, Heather. I'm Dan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Heather Trunka is the injury prevention supervisor at Akron Children's Hospital. She and Casey Newman were kind enough to take us to the rehabilitation pool to show us why swimsuit color is such a big deal when it comes to protecting your kids.
Drowning doesn't look like what it does on TV. Kids aren't splashing around, yelling for help. They're bobbing right at the surface level.
Drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 4. It is also the second leading cause of unintentional injury death for children ages 5 to 14. A recent analysis from Akron Children's Hospital and Alive Solutions shows how spotting your kids quickly by choosing brightly colored swimsuit colors can save their life if they are in need of help.
When we choose a swimsuit colors, those bright colors are really what we want to focus on. So the light pinks, the light blues, and the whites almost completely disappear.
Even white?
Even white especially is almost invisible in a pool.
This is the diagram from Alive Solutions. You can see the orange, yellows, and reds can be seen most easily when submerged only 18 inches underwater, but the whites and blues were not.
You want me to agitate?
Agitate.
Once you agitate the water as if kids were playing in it, it can make some of the swimsuits nearly invisible.
When we talk with parents about water safety when they're really little, is we want to make sure that they're always being watched. If a child goes missing, the first place we should look is a body of water, because kids are drawn to the water.
According to Hackensack Meridian Health in New Jersey, a child can drown in as little as 20 seconds, the time it takes to get up and get a towel. It's why keeping a close eye on your child whenever they're in the water is critical, and picking a swimsuit color that makes them the most visible only helps with keeping your kids safe. Dan Grossman, Scripps News, Akron, Ohio.
FDA advisors are set to vote on updated COVID-19 vaccines today. They'll be weighing in on how the new shots will be formulated. Right now, the vaccines contain a strain of the original coronavirus, but there have been a lot of mutations as this virus continues to evolve. So the scientists are trying to decide if these new vaccines will be designed to protect only against the latest Omicron variants. The CDC will ultimately make the final recommendations. So it's only June, but health experts are already keeping a close eye on flu season. The virus peaks between December and February in the United States, but it's already active in the southern hemisphere. Australian officials say flu cases began increasing sharply in May, with more children appearing to test positive than any other age group this year. One infectious disease specialist says that we can likely expect a similar trend here this winter, so people should go ahead and plan to get their flu shot as soon as possible. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, the Denver Nuggets celebrating their new title today. All the scenes from the championship parade as the new NBA champs roll through town. And we'd like to remind you right here to follow us at Scripps News on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on TikTok. We'll be right back.
Mom, we're so glad you're feeling better. You gave us such a scare.
I know, honey. Me too. But I want you to know I'm at peace with my homegoing when my time is up. And did I also tell you that I got coverage for my funeral so you and your brother would not have to worry about expenses?
I didn't know you were saving money for your final expenses.
I haven't. I called Open Care, and with one phone call, I was eligible for $30,000 for my funeral and final expenses.
That's wonderful, Mom. But how did you pass your medical exam with your health condition? Oh, that's the best part. No medical exam is needed.
That's right, and my rates can never increase, my benefits will not decrease, and my coverage will never be canceled.
Mom, I'm so glad you called.
You can now get up to $30,000 in life insurance coverage to help pay for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you can be enrolled with just one phone call. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call the number on your screen now and see how a final expense life insurance plan can help you. We don't want to leave our loved ones with debt. The cost of a funeral can be $8,000 or more. A final expense life insurance plan will pay up to $30,000, which can be used for funeral and other final expenses.
Call 800-915-6980 now
for your free information. You can now get up to $30,000 in life insurance coverage to help pay for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam, and you can be enrolled with just one phone call. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. Call the number on your screen now and see how a final expense life insurance plan can help you. There's no obligation.
Call 800-915-6980. That's 800-915-6980.
How does Klein Inspector get among the most big verdicts and settlements of any law firm in the country? Because Klein Inspector is an award-winning team with 5 doctor lawyers, the most of any firm in the United States. And that's why the New York Times calls Klein Inspector a powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein Inspector.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
Sure, you'll teach her how to drive a car. Then use Greenlight to power her independence with crash detection with 911 dispatch, family location sharing, and emergency SOS alerts. Invest in your best investment with Greenlight.
A rare sighting outside of the Tampa International Airport. Check this out, a black bear hanging out right there along the fence. A TSA employee says they first spotted it Tuesday, prompting authorities to set up a perimeter to keep that bear contained, and it worked. The bear slept inside that perimeter overnight, and then the bear finally went into a trap. That bear was relocated to Ocala National Forest Preserve in Central Florida. Probably just wanted to catch a flight. Okay, another really cool story I wanted to show you. This one also in Florida. Body camera footage capturing the moment that a Florida deputy rescued a family of 6 after their minivan flipped right onto its side.
I'm gonna come get you, okay?
I don't know. I can't.
I'm gonna come get you, okay? It's all right. Come here.
Hillsborough County Sergeant Donnie Reiser came across the overturned minivan and found a mother and her kids trapped inside. He jumped into action, pulling them all out of the vehicle, and the sheriff applauded Reiser's brave action, calling them, quote, nothing short of extraordinary. Job well done. So the Denver Nuggets won their first NBA title earlier this week, and their fans were turning out in full force for that parade.
It's time to introduce to you your 2023 NBA champion, Denver Nuggets!
There you go. The new champions making their way through downtown Denver today for that parade. And it took 47 seasons for that team to finally win the title, defeating the Miami Heat during Game 5 in Ball Arena on Monday night. Big congratulations. Okay, so for anyone who's ever wanted to visit that iconic coffee shop, you know, the one that you see in Friends. Yeah, Central Perk. Well, you're going to get to because Central Perk Company is actually opening this year in Boston. And the coffee shop is going to look just like the one that you see the famous Friends crew frequent on the sitcom. But it's going to have a modern twist. And finally, when Beyonce performs, the Bayhive swarms, and that has affected an entire country's economy. Analysts say the star's Renaissance concert in Sweden affected the country's inflation numbers. A chief economist at Danske Bank says that last month's surge in hotel and restaurant prices in Stockholm kept Sweden's inflation numbers from falling as much as expected. Now some are wondering if other stars could have the same effect, but experts say they may not have as much of an impact as Queen Bee. Bayflation, is that what they would call it? Bayflation. Less than 2% of our nation's pilots are black, but a new flight school program is aiming to change that statistic for future generations. Del Walters is up next with that. I'm Veronica Dela Cruz. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. The news continues right here on Scripps News Live.
There's a lot